Well, somebody did. It was an idea. I didn't anticipate. Well, I didn't really expect to turn up this very evening. But we can just wing it. I can show a video in a second. Yes, I was thinking more along the one of the Tuesday or Thursday showings, unless this has been discontinued. I don't recall them being happening yesterday anyway.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show. So much is going on, so much to do. Behind the scenes work is oh so excruciating some days. But I did accidentally find a guest. Say hello, Director Arketer.
No, greetings everyone.
Alright.
Some of you may even remember me.
You were on, according to my files, I believe in March. My files aren't that good, so they could be wrong. I need to get better files.
That sounds about right, actually.
Yeah, I keep the shots that I use for the show, even though I cleared them all out yesterday and then had to find yours to put them back in today. I keep all the shots for the show in folders marked by the month that I do things in so that I can sort of remember what I'm doing. It doesn't always work. How is everybody today? We have Data who popped in here first. We have Bobcat McSwifty. It's been a little while, or somebody changed their name. And we have the Malevolent Rider, Dark Sasuke. Welcome! Glad to have you back at a show. We have, ignoring the bots, Henrik. Welcome. How is everybody today? Burnside. Which one's Burnside? Is that's Henrik, right? Alright, I'm confusing myself already. I made a few little changes to the show. I hope everybody enjoys them. I cannot even remember all of the commands that we have procured to add to the bot. So, what I did was, I spent a little over an hour this morning creating some transparents to overlay. And it's going to toss in all the things that you can type. And it'll kind of describe what they're for. Not really. Just tells you to type them in the chat and try them out. Why not? Just have at it. With that being said, I like to keep my bots interesting, and they've been growing. They're getting older. Almost at adolescence, I think. We have ourselves a game board. Let's see if it works today. Yep, maybe? No? Maybe?
I wait with bated breath.
Welcome to the Great Debate.
Something's wrong with my audio.
Robotin. I didn't kiss her down.
No, the game's not coming through. That is awkward. Oh, everybody else hears it. I don't. That's the problem. There we go. The delays, the problems, the formatting, the audio, all of the things take to make a show. And then there's the board, which I hope my final questions that I typed in there like an hour ago, because I was just sitting on one going, how do I fill in this category? That feeling is just, welcome, the Amish Hitman. How are we doing today? Oh, Arketer, it's been a while, but I'm
It
sure you
has
still
indeed.
kind of remember how to play.
Absolutely, and I'm perfectly willing to choose the topic on your mark.
Here we go.
Let's start off with controversy.
Controversy. Oh, we do like a little controversy here. Feminism is necessary to advance the equality of women. Where can we help advance female equality?
With the abandonment of feminism.
Interesting
The
concept.
entire concept of feminism to start off with was flawed. Again, it's not about equality. It's in the name. And hindsight, it seems like this should have been a rather obvious clue. I once thought I was a feminist, but feminists made it abundantly clear to me that I'm in fact an egalitarian, because I'm interested in equality, not just, trying to swap ye ancient gender roles.
Yeah. And that is kind of what a lot of people see feminism as these days, because the hurdles, the obstacles that were created that held them back have been removed. And in fact, in a lot of cases, they've started to swing the other direction, whereas they're seen as disadvantaged, so they're offered an advantage to counter that disadvantage that they don't actually have. It's just perceived. So now they're just advantaged.
Yes, and it's kind of lost touch with reality. Now they're trying to stress we're equal, and so we're equal, so as a result, women should be the breadwinners and the men stay-at-home parents, which is fine if that's their choice. But what they're finding is that with the barriers removed, people tend to prefer things rather in accordance with what they happen to be born as. Biological preference.
Right. And certain people are inclined to do certain things. Families are structured how families are structured out of necessity. So the way I try to look at this is, or the way I tried to look at this is, what is there left that could be worth them fighting for? And let's offer a little bit of, what would the word be? Let's offer a little bit of, I don't know what the word is. I want to look in the middle of their head and see what they're thinking. So I'm going to offer a little of their insight, I suppose would be the right kind of word. And try to look at this like, am I disenfortuned or disenfranchised because I have the probability of being the child bearer? And does that hold me back from certain parts or abilities to get a job?
If you let it. If you make a point of avoiding having children, then certainly you're no disadvantage compared to anyone else in that point, if that's what you want to do. I'm all for equality of opportunity, but at this point, it's gone from trying to push equality of opportunity to trying to force equality of outcome. That doesn't work. That is insane.
Sorry, my wife just got home with my daughter who hurt her ankle today. It's really hard to offer equality when they're not telling us where the equality isn't at. Does that make sense? They're telling us that they're disadvantaged, they're disenfranchised, and there's even what is the wheel called? The Duluth model of sexual violence. These things are leaning heavily in their favor. And then when you try to argue it, they argue that you are taking away their right to fight for rights.
Yes, it's there are advantages being conveyed that are not being acknowledged because it's necessary to maintain a victim mentality. They have to simultaneously cry for equality, but demand that you bend over backwards to protect them and save them from any possible failure.
Yes.
It's barking mad, in short.
The weird
but
one.
This is an ism that can be done away with.
It is. It really can be. And the weird one is, I really don't believe in the wage gap. But you know what? I can say I saw it somewhere. Not that I saw the article. Not that I saw somebody say it or I saw an extra tax on things. Well, obviously we see the price differences. Women take better care of themselves. They buy more items. Those items sometimes cost more to make. You know what? They make their money. That's all that's about. But if you look at
they control purchasing, according to good old Mr. Peterson.
Yeah. If you look at
they drive the economy.
IRS database, and there's a site I have somewhere, and you type in your income to figure out where your percentile is. It breaks it down by male and female, by race and area and things like that. There's a whole bunch of statistics in there. And one of the things that I noticed was that wage gap was very obvious in IRS claim forms. It was very obvious in that statistical analysis because when you looked at how much women made compared to how much men made, it was about 77 to 79% of what men made in most cases. And
yes, the assumption there is that the men were getting paid more because the male, like the boss just said, "Oh, well, you've got a dick. That's worth at least a 10% raise right there." But that's not what is actually happening. Peterson's covered this quite admirably. It's a matter of the fact that men tend to argue more for raises. They tend to fight more. They're less agreeable.
Right.
So they push more. Now, this doesn't mean that women can't earn the same amount or they shouldn't try. In fact, I believe Peterson has rather stressed the point that they should try. In fact, why not teach them how to argue for raises and better wages? That's a great thing.
So that
but
would
to just
be
arbitrarily
what we
say they
need
have to
to
be paid
do.
exactly the same in all cases is disaster.
So what we need to do to complete the feminism, to achieve the equality of the sexes, is teach women how to beat the hell out of people and argue for shit.
Well, I don't know, beat the hell out of people, but they
It's
probably
in there
need to
somewhere.
learn how to
I'll
argue.
just add that in for fun.
No, and this is one of the things that Peterson has done. He's been taking clients and teaching them how to argue for raises, how to negotiate. That is great. Now, this is no guarantee that you'll see those outcomes reach equity.
It's not necessarily about equity. It's about the equality of opportunity and the equality of it, and the dissolvement of the advantages based on the perceived inequality. That's what this is about.
Yes, perceived inequality. There's
Yes,
the
I
problem.
worded
You can
that
perceive
perfectly.
inequality. You can perceive crimes that don't exist easily. If you're trying, you can perceive wrongdoing in absolutely anything. That's how we have cultural appropriation.
Oh, correct. Because it would be wrong for me to wear my cowboy jeans and boots and belt buckles.
Oh, I didn't mean
Who
to
am I
do a video on
appropriating
this.
that from?
Identity politics is all the ists and isms, because how do you even address cultural appropriation as being a crime without being just comically racist? Because you are objectively saying at this level, "I'm sorry, sir and or madam, you can't wear that. Your skin is the wrong color."
Right. Or you're the wrong race. You're the wrong
Yeah.
ethnicity.
This outfit is only for these people of this ethnicity.
Not like you're wearing that dress wrong. You have it on backwards. It's you're wearing that dress wrong. Your skin's not right. What?
Right. That's...
What is...
It's barking mad that it's taken seriously and that it's furthermore perceived to be a noble thing to make this claim? Really?
What's going to be our next topic? Because I'm sure we're going to find something else interesting to continue this so that we don't have to discuss the mental image of the sexy cowboy numbskull.
Well, Mr. Bobcat here mentioned Bratz dolls, and on the record, I hate Bratz dolls with a burning passion. I think that especially people who made Bratz babies should be investigated thoroughly by the FBI. This, however, leads me to the next topic, toys.
Toys. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Are people, specifically those who consent, toys? Are genitals toys because they are played with?
No. I would think not. They can play at being toys, and certainly they can be played with. And maybe in a specific context, it's okay to make believe, but definitely not toys.
I don't know. This is a hard one. I wanted to have fun with the board, so once in a while you got to throw these in there. Just shit. I'm gonna have fun with something.
Yeah, fair enough.
Some people want to be a possession of another person. It is a desire, and if you're that person's possession to do pleasurable bidding, wouldn't that make that person a toy?
No, I think a person who wants to be a toy is serving the role perhaps of a toy, but would objectively still not be an actual toy.
But could be. It could be for all, practical living definition a toy.
Toys don't have rights. They still have rights. Whether they want to exercise those rights is their, curiously enough, right. But they don't cease to be human, ergo they do not become a toy.
Okay. That seemed way too simple. We talked about dildos being toys. That was in February, I think. Or maybe January. It was on the board at one point. Maybe 2 points.
Conversely, dildos can at no point become people.
Why not? I want my... I have a video I'm working on. I'm about 7 minutes in. I'm not sure how long it's going to be in the end. I want my fleshlight to be real. I want it to talk to me. Well, maybe not talk to me, but everything else.
I don't think you thought that one out very well. No. I think they make things that will make noises, but it's generally quite horrifying. Again, this is one of the reasons why we don't need to worry about sex bots for a while yet.
Well, that was where my question was going to go next. If I bought a sex bot, would that be my toy? If it had a personality and could interact and move on its own, would it be my toy? Would it still be a toy?
Yes,
or would
it still wouldn't be human, and hopefully isn't sentient. God help us all if that happens. Seriously, that's one of the most that's my topmost nightmare scenario for the robot apocalypse. Sex toys gaining sentience, because at best it's awkward. At worst, it's certain doom for us all. Plus, they know exactly where to hit you where it hurts.
I just want semi-sentience. I want someone that doesn't argue. They listen and they help with the choice. And they do it naked so I can watch.
If they either possess free will or want to possess free will, then it's going to be a problem. Anything short of that, go hog wild.
Some women don't want free will.
Yes,
so
well, they're kind of...
they could be a toy.
No. If that's how they feel, then boy, that's a shame. But unfortunately, they were not made or created a sex bot.
But genitals,
and mind you,
genitals can be played with. They can be a toy.
Yeah, you can play with them. I'm not sure if that
they interact.
Are objectively a toy, and they can interact. But again, no, I can't agree with people ever being toys.
So we've
genitals aren't toys,
the
but they are anatomy you can play with.
We've established the director is not into hardcore BDSM. No leashes and collars today, folks. Trying to get a little laugh somewhere out of this show. I'm sorry it was at your expense, but
that's fine. But on certain objective level, I just simply can't agree. What shall we go with next? Movies. Let's discuss movies.
Movies has to be better than real life people being sex toys.
Can people be movies?
Is the price to see a movie in theater worth the bragging right to have seen it first?
No. No, I would say not. Primarily because who brags about that?
Have you seen
I saw
the
movie
new
first.
Infinity Wars?
Actually, I have not. I had the opportunity while I was on the run, but it just didn't quite fit in the schedule, which I think is fine because I'm not averse to spoilers, and having had it spoiled for me, I can't say I'm really grieved to have missed it. I'm looking forward to the next movie that
Yeah.
better resolves things. I don't like sitting in for a story that ends halfway with any hope of finishing the story sometime
Thank you.
a year or two from now.
Here's what I got the same
Chase.
feeling from the spoilers, and here's what I think I'm going to get if I go watch Infinity Wars. Is I'm gonna get the feeling I got when I played Halo 2. Now, Halo 1 was awesome. Everything that led up through Halo 1, the gameplay and everything they did was great. Halo 2 came out, and it was like, this is a great game, and wait a second, that was the end? What the fuck did you just do? And then the third one came out, and it was like, okay, this is going to be the end of the second one. This is going to be great, and it's going to be... They fucked that all up. What the hell did they do to this game? I mean, it was okay, but they built up to
Cliffhangers are cheap.
Yeah.
And they offend me deeply.
If I go watch this so that I have the bragging rights and know the details that I haven't heard in the spoilers, you know, the intricacies of the movie, if I go see it and have that bragging right, is that worth it? When, again, like you said, the second movie is going to be the one I want to see, so what I'd rather do is try to acquire a copy of the movie, watch it, and then make sure I watch it right as the DVD for the second one comes out, because I'm not sure how that one's going to be either. I don't want to plan on theaters.
I'm just going to keep on shamelessly spoiling myself if I have any room for doubt. On that note, unrelated, except for being on the topic of movies, I cannot recommend A Quiet Place. Especially the parents out there. This is a little known fact, but I'm a dad. And in that movie, they kind of off a kid in the first 30 minutes in a very sad and instinct-poking fashion that had me on edge for an extended period of time after the movie, primarily because, well, I wanted revenge.
I have to say, I'm not.
And
really
it seemed entirely possible. Well, suffice to say, in that movie, there were 1,000,001 ways they could have dealt with the horrible monster things that were not undertaken.
One of the problems that I have with going to see a movie is they've raised the price exponentially. It's almost 3 times what it used to be for me to go see a movie by myself, and now there's 4 of them, so that's 12 times the cost. Oh, and that's not including refreshments. I can't afford that right now. I'm not going to try. Not even going to bother trying to pay $12, $13 for an evening ticket that I can take my kids to go see.
Even if I had the time, I wouldn't be trying that. I think I would have to smuggle things in on principle.
I would rather watch a bootleg copy at this point than take 2 kids into a theater. Yeah. Not even the price. I'll pay half the price, but I won't go. But that's where it's getting to, though, is I'm waiting for it to hit Netflix or for it to hit one of the movie boxes where I can pay $2, $3 to watch the video or have it included on my account that I already paid for. And then...
I suspect a lot of these theaters are going to be dying in the not-too-distant future.
And yeah, they are. Mostly because the prices have gone so through the roof that it's the first thing people are willing to give up is their frivolous spending. And it's sad because I used to love watching movies in theaters. I'd pick the 3rd or 4th row back where the chairs still recline a little bit, sit up there with an unlimited popcorn, unlimited soda that used to cost me like $3 or $4. Now they cost like $9.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard. I'd love to go see movies in theaters. It's just not worth
Hard
it.
times for a cinephile.
Yeah.
The big screen is hard to beat, but increasingly there are ways to get around the big screen experience. VR perhaps being one of them, but that's not casually affordable yet. Theaters are only going to see increasing competition, and they're not handling that competition very well.
Well, I have a not to brag, but I watch for sales, and I got a 65-inch TV for $620. So,
Oh, but there you go.
I can get a pretty good experience. Now, if I had a couple of grand, I'd buy 3 more of the exact same TV and mount them up and connect them all to a computer, and then boom, I can watch whatever I want in big screen, or go buy a $400 projector or something cheaper. But I just don't see the appeal to going to theaters anymore, except, and it's not worth it to me, just for the bragging rights of, yeah, I saw that in theaters. Or I've seen this. Sorry guys, there's gonna be spoilers, but here we go. We're gonna talk about Infinity Wars Video 1.
I can understand if the movie was somehow special for you, that maybe it'd be worth in that specific context to shell out for the ticket. If I had the time or ability, I would definitely want to be in the theaters for Equalizer 2, because I have a huge soft spot for the Equalizer. I have an inverse, somewhat indifference to John Wick. Accordingly, they're basically diametric opposites if you think about it. But that's getting sidetracked. Let's go ahead and pick a new topic, shall we?
Absolutely. I'm always
virtual reality.
Make sure I click on the right one. I've been screwing up lately. Could or should classrooms be taught in virtual reality environments to reduce other resources? Why do I feel like I've asked this before? Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm a numbskull. Who knows? But I'll give it to you either way.
I think I might have seen it before. Might have been here for live stream in which someone else was asked this question. I would say, why the hell not?
I think that it would be a cost saver in the end.
Oh, very likely. And if you need certain practical hands-on practice, you can always take the headset off and use that savings to cash in where it's really necessary.
Right.
I see no downsides to this, provided that it doesn't result in too much motion sickness among the sensitive. Or you might see that savings vanish in janitorial fees.
I forget which company's VR system it was, but there was one interactive virtual reality where it took some of your environment and incorporated it into what you were doing. So if you had a table in front of you, it could take that table and input what you were doing on the table, construct it in 3D, you could walk around it, you can move things on the walls and stuff, but you still interact with your environment, but it adds to your environment. And I read a few quick articles about this technology a few years ago before it was coming out, and I saw some of the ads for the new classes they're starting to try and teach in the VR. I forget what college it was, where the medical class actually had interactive VR training. So instead of working on cadavers, you could actually go in and work on holographic VR images. And the glasses that you use were very similar to what the Google Glass was starting to look like. I don't know if you're familiar with any of this.
I might have heard something about it, but nothing's coming to mind right now.
It's really cool how you can take general learning and apply it in 3D and help make it make more sense. And being that I have young kids, take that back. You can, in a 3D world, explain to them building blocks, fractions, coins. You can move between methods and mediums of teaching very quickly by just like departicleizing everything you see and then rebuilding a structure for them to work on. You can teach people general concepts of pulling computers apart and putting them together inside the program and never actually have to use any hardware. So there's no cost in buying supplies. You can do the same thing with building gazebos. Okay, here's your class. Take this and, this is how you need to do it. They can instruct you right in class. Now, there could be 30 people sitting there, but every single one of them feels like they're getting one-on-one hands-on learning because the teacher's right there teaching you in VR.
Again, the future is bright on this point.
Think of the savings. Think of the reduced amount of resources. They wouldn't have to order supplies. There'd be no more paper and things like that. Everything would have to be done in school, which means that either the school year would be longer in the U.S. or they would have to find ways that would help students interact or something at home to continue their education. But you're talking no more resource books, no more printouts. Everything they need to know or learn or have access to would be in that program. So as soon as they stepped into that world, everything would be at their fingertips.
Huge potential, which also means there's a huge potential for it to go wrong somehow. We haven't foreseen exactly, but it's well worth a try.
And I think the big reason that I probably have either asked the same question or a very, very closely worded one is that the VR capabilities we're looking at, they're testing them on larger scales. They're trying to get people to invest in this. What if you dropped these tests into a low-end school? What if you went to Chicago and dropped off like 2,000 headgears and stopped to see
Bob
how that worked in class?
is asking where the money is going to come from. I want to address this real quick. The government could fund this quite easily if they simply just accounted for the, what was it, 20 trillion that the military has misplaced still?
Not even that.
I'm pretty sure we could land every student a very fancy VR gear for that kind of cash, being it is several times the gross domestic product of a variety of nations combined.
On top of that,
yes, you're not saying much about
about
that in the active news. A while back, the military actually lose $6 trillion, and they found out since then that they actually lost quite a bit more.
Yeah, I did. It was wasn't it almost 20 in the end?
It's I think at the last count was around $22 trillion dollars lost. Yeah. If we can find out where that money went, that should certainly fund some massive upgrades to the education system, don't you think?
Also, think of it this way. There is a per capita cost that the schools look at for students, and they buy things for the school according to that, and they plan according to that. If that per capita cost went down to the cost of you having a headset, per student per capita cost goes to having a headset for every student for these classes.
Oh, and it's well worth the investment. I can't stress
decrease
this
the cost
enough.
exponentially through the years.
Anything we can do to make our future generations better than our present is the clearest, wisest investment in the future.
Not only that, but in a Chicago school, how often do they have, or even New York City or Los Angeles, how often do they have the money to teach certain classes because their funding has been cut? You could add those classes back in and not have to add in some of the requirements for the class that were previously needed by doing it in VR. You might not even need a teacher in your school to teach the class. What will that save your school? $50,000 a year? What would $50,000 buy you? About 100. Well, let's see, 50,000. That's 1,000 headsets. No, 100 headsets, a couple hundred headsets, something like that.
Now, right now, VR headsets are fairly expensive, but
you buy them both
already
for a couple hundred.
Your phones are serving the role in many cases.
Yeah.
The price should only go down in time further.
Yeah.
When you compare how much has been thrown away on special education materials, books that are now hideously outdated, it's really not so daunting a concept.
There would have to be supervision. However, the supervision wouldn't have to be teachers. It would have to be people monitoring. You'd have like tech supervision and you'd have class monitors. You wouldn't have to hire $150,000 a year specific professor to teach this class when you could pay $10,000 to have that class unlimitedly streamed VR through your entire school. That cost savings will start to pay for itself.
Perhaps, although I don't think cutting on the number of teachers is necessarily the wisest approach. There's some doomsaying here in regards to being no supervision. If the headsets are well designed, then there's really no reason you have to stick kids all in the same building, although you do have to make sure the parents aren't selling the headsets for drug money or something. That can be tricky. There are so many things that are inevitably worth trying when it comes to using VR to teach. Should we move to another topic, though, perhaps?
Absolutely.
Or are we running out of time? How long is it?
No, we are doing great on time. We're a hair ahead on topics, but that's fine. I think that's because the one was, it crashed and burned.
Let's go with, let's see. Mainstream media.
Ooh. If mainstream media isn't showing more diverse reporters, isn't that contradicting their conversation?
Are we talking about diversity of skin color or diversity of thought? Because I'm pretty sure they have a fair type of a rainbow variety of so-called reporters.
Do they? I've actually sat and watched. I wrote this question down and then sat and tried to watch. And if you watch a lot of programming, there are sprinkled in reporters that are not white. Yeah, let me not try to tiptoe around this. There are black, Hispanic, and Asian reporters. There are people who are not white who report. But I do seem to notice, since it's been pointed out very, very obviously in the media, that we should be giving them equality. And whether or not there's 50%, they need to have 50% of the staff or a representative amount of staff covering that skin color because it's so important. But then when you watch, and I'm not talking about the people they invite on to talk to, the news programming on most mainstream media networks is primarily white. There are correspondent reporters who are not white, but the primary news anchors in most shows, predominantly overlooking this, are white. And if I had to sit and count, I wouldn't say that it's very representative of the diversity the country has. So, if they're so upfront and open and want to take on diversity, why don't we have mainstream news outlets that promote diversity in front of things and start to show very thin white population in their ranks?
I'm pretty sure they will fight any effort that actually threatens their jobs. They're about threatening other people's jobs. Meanwhile, again, I don't care what the representation is. The representation should only be who had the qualities necessary to get the job. Were they barred because of their skin color? If they were barred because of their skin color, that would be horrible. If that's not happening, though, then who cares? Or who should care?
And it's so tricky to tell, which is why their argument makes no sense. But it's their narrative. They're pushing that the equality isn't there or that things aren't fair for people. But then if I have a real problem with seeing vagrants on the street, if I have a problem with watching somebody walk down in, dirty clothes and a shopping cart full of cans and junk, if I have a problem with that, am I just going to sit here and say, I have a problem with that, take another drink, and let it go? I have a problem with that.
That's what Twitter does.
I'm going to go offer them a shower, or I'm going to go make them a sandwich, or I'll let them run their cart through the car wash. I don't know, but I'll offer something or do something that might help it if I really have a problem with it. I'm not just going to sit there and say, this is happening, I have a problem with it. Moving on, I have this game show. Would you like to try it out tonight at 7? You know what I mean? It just feels like they're... Oh, what's the word? They're talking the talk but not walking the walk sometimes.
Well, yes, probably, but I don't think they're thinking it through that difficulty. They're more along the lines of just demanding someone do something about it and have no intention of doing anything about it themselves personally. But then again, what are the odds that on a personal level, any of us are actually going to make the right call there with a person driving the cart down? We don't know why they're driving a cart down the street. They should be helped, but that's work that needs done on the social infrastructure. On a personal level, you can buy them a sandwich. That's good. It could be a bit dangerous or not. It depends on how charitable you feel, but even then, it's something of a fleeting, temporary fix. A lot more clearly needs to be done. What is their issue? What are the problems that are putting them where they are? And you can't. It is incredibly reckless to assume that it is strictly just a cruel, hateful society that has beaten them into the ground for shits and giggles, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird.
There's more work.
There is a lot of work to be done.
It's all the devil is in the details, in short.
Yeah.
It's a colossal mess.
It's funny that you bring up the details about why the person is on the street when in reality the mainstream media doesn't bring up the details about why there aren't certain people in certain jobs. So that's a nice correlation to throw in there as we move to the board. I need to find a quieter mouse. You guys can all hear this click, click, click. As I have to click and fix that so it doesn't screw up on me.
Did you ever remember that picked up a homeless guy, got him a hotel, clothing, and a job interview? Well, that is a nice gesture indeed. It's not going to solve the homeless problem on a large scale, but for an individual case, that's awfully generous. Although, if said homeless guy had, say, deep-seated mental issues that were making it impossible for him to hold down a job, it's probably not going to help in the long run. Fingers crossed, though, that it was just a compounded lack of funds.
I'm sure we've
that can
all
happen.
seen them.
There are people who can wind up homeless through no fault of their own whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. If shit keeps getting a whole lot more expensive this year, I might be by next year. Damn.
Yeah. I hope not, but yes, that can happen.
The prices of things are rising so quick, I can't even plan to keep up with some of them. I'm looking at things going, what am I going to do?
They really shouldn't be. That bothers me immensely. We are heading into a time where there really should be plenty. We're not too far off when the robots will be able to do damn near everything. That's going to completely wreck the economic system we have gotten so very used to. And if we don't collectively own those robots, then we're not going to enjoy facing people who do.
Yeah. Dad Wasteland and I looked a little bit at that on Saturday's show, the Numbed Wasteland, about how the economy is and how people think it is and where we fit. And it's just, it's bleak. And if robots and automation begin to take more jobs, then you're going to need to be more skilled.
Automation robots begin taking more jobs. It's not a matter of if, barring a nuclear war setting us back a few
there's a combustion that's forcing it that I see. So you're right. When they take more of the jobs away so that they don't have to put the funds out to pay for people to do the job. When that all happens, a lot of people are going to be relying on the socialist aspect of the government, which really, it's everywhere.
Historically hasn't turned out, but it has to be embraced to a certain degree, because at some point it's going to be impossible for pretty much anyone to earn their living in the traditional fashion.
Yeah,
and that's not something that that's even that.
Yeah, there's a machine that makes its own pizza for you. It'll have it ready in under 20 minutes.
Yep.
So let's say we get
universal basic income, that is probably going to be just one inevitable stopgap measure that people don't even want to consider.
Let's try to get one more of these topics out of the way.
Oh, very good.
tantalizing board sometimes.
It is indeed. I wonder if we've been through too controversial. I'm tempted to politics, but I think in this case, and we should go with what the fuck or for the win.
Absolutely. Colonizing a new world, are we still humans, if not earthlings?
I would say we're definitely still humans, probably earthlings on some sort of technical heritage level. I would say a human born on another planet is no longer an earthling. They're whatever planet that is, who is also human.
Now this gets confusing. A lot of peoples have asked if our species were to begin to breed on another planet, and we grew and populated a civilization somewhere else, would we still be human? So I guess you have to divide this up two ways. If we live on another planet that is specifically, ideally, like Earth, then nothing would change or affect the species, which means the species would still be human, but we wouldn't be Earthling.
No, this is reminding me of a terrible movie, I'm afraid.
And on the other
I'm trying
side,
to get sidetracked, but it was really bad.
On the other side, if we move to another planet and variations in the planet, either in the atmosphere or the solar output or something, change the way our species is composed or the way that our species develops, then we would no longer be human, nor would we be earthling. We would be of human and earth lineage.
Possibly, depending on exactly how great the divergence has become. Otherwise, we would just be a subspecies of humanity in that case. I would say still human, and in any case, it doesn't really pay to view a sentient as being less than human.
Would we
so we could probably vary that concept.
Would we have to basically start from scratch, do you think? If we land on another planet and we take, let's say we take the seeds, we take something from the seed bank, and we take some animals.
We've ever taken a lot more than that.
Well, obviously, we'd have to take a shit ton. Let's say we take an ark, 2 of everything and some seeds and a bunch of people, and we drop it on a planet. How long would it take till they're not human?
I would have no way to speculate on that. A long time, I would assume, unless there's some novel complication there. And also it depends on, are they living in the environment or in habitats? Of course, they'll probably change even within habitats. That's going to be inevitable too.
That's a thought about even just colonizing space, even just living on a ship. If you live on a ship in space, would you still be a human? Would you still be an earthling? Things in space would change the way your body works.
I would say
still not sure
earthling, no. Human, still yes. You'd be Homo something, if not classical sapiens.
Right, and that's, I guess I probably should have gone more towards the Homo sapiens, Homo erectus thing, but trying to be simple and encompassing in questions. It's really hard.
Ultimately, it's quibbling.
It is quibbling. Why not? It's really hard for me to try and think about this in a matter of, people would still inherently want to be human, but you don't get to choose.
We should hope they want to still be considered human, because if they've decided that they're not human, then they probably are soon to take a dim view of humanity, and the last thing we need are various offshoots of humanity trying to murder each other.
Ooh, I think I just found my next question.
What they already have, I suppose. It would be definitely a step backwards. We've done pretty well at getting this over this whole people have different colored skin thing, or people have certain natural proclivities or talents in one way or the other to other people. We're making progress on that point as a whole, and it's great. But certainly, it isn't a given thing that will only keep improving.
All weird questions tonight. Sorry if some of them are off. You know, you just happened to pick a couple in a row, but hey, no worries. How are you liking the
chat
show?
seems to have been quite active. I think
I'm
your
trying
audience
to catch
is
up with the chat
very.
here. My eyes don't move fast enough.
Yeah, I have to say you've got a very active audience. I'm a bit jealous. But I should be unsurprised. My last live stream effort, which was a bit before this, actually, was an attempt to stream Skyrim VR, and I have to say it went kind of poorly. Mostly because it's damnably hot here, and, well, I think I lost 5 pounds of water weight. Anyhow, go on.
Part of my chat is the bot interacting with everybody.
Oh, I know that...
Try to keep him
it's not all the case, though.
Let's see. If a planet was Europeans and Asians only, we would be on Mars. Okay. Okay. Feck. Is a tiger in a zoo? No, it's a captive tiger. And that offers a really good interjection there. If you change the living circumstances of a species, that changes the way they react to things. And it may not change the species inherently, but it changes the way the species reacts.
Okay, well, if going this route, then I say the best example would be, is a dog a wolf?
Yes.
Well, if a dog is a wolf, then certainly a human on another planet is still human.
Yes, but at the same time, a dog isn't a wolf, which means a human on another planet wouldn't be a human.
So not the same kind.
Right. It
would change. Better. Hopefully only better.
It would change to a degree, but would that degree be for the better or for the worse?
Well, there's no way to tell that, but you have to hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Evolution isn't just about the environment, but a reaction to the social environment. Yeah, that's true, and you would react differently if your environment was changed. So if the way you had to react to what was outside you changed, the way you live, the pattern you live your life by, your habits, the frequency of your habits would change. It wouldn't necessarily change the species until, evolution takes over and a few, maybe a few dozen generations go by and something would change to adapt to the new situation, depending on what the adaptation of the situation would be, obviously. I'm a plain nut. Thank you, Data. Homo Farnsworth. None Earthlings. There are none Earthlings here. Henrik, computer had to update. Keep your erectus to yourself. Bobcat. You're probably gone by now if I'm just reading that. Real world examples. The sand bushmen are 100,000 years removed from human gene pool before reintegrating back in, resulting in a very unique species of human.
That, by the way, was very interesting thing to mention. I'm going to have to look into that, because that sounds fascinating indeed.
I'm going to have to go back and look again, because I'm starting to get a little fuzzy on the details, but I think there was something like 10 hominid humanoid species, bipedular being hominid, I believe, that lived on the planet in roughly the same time area a few 100,000 years ago. And the human species is actually a combination of 3 of them that were able to adequately mate through time. I forget how all that works, so I'm going to have to look back into that. What else do we got in chat, guys? A robot is programmed to rewrite its own programming and evolve until it can mimic a human exactly with a hologram. Would you consider a robot a sentient being?
I missed that.
At that point, yes. At that point, yes. Once they can rewrite their own programming, once they can make up their mind and change it, then they're sentient.
This reminds me very much of the whole Fallout 4 debate over synths. And it always bothered the hell out of me that people who just wanted to kill the Generation 3 synths because they're clearly robots. But if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, it's completely indistinguishable from a duck, it's a fucking duck. The super genius eggheads in Fallout 4 basically created a way to factory produce human slaves. With a few upgrades, maybe, but that's really all they did. They even made it out of human tissue. Why was there a debate over that? And yet, I have certainly been in enough arguments over this to know that it doesn't get put to bed quite that easily.
Hey, look. Denisovian, Neanderthal, and humans. That sounds familiar. But I don't see, the Neanderthal had another name. The ones that I read them and I probably couldn't remember were the genealogical names, the specified species names. Well, I forget what they're called. To characterize this, the breakdown of the species. I'm not smart. I just weed a lot. Sometimes. If we spent generations in space and became thin, low gravity, and smarter and bigger head, darker, no sun, bigger eyes, lose a few fingers and turn gray. Sound familiar? Oh shit, we did this before. It's all happening again. Babylon 5 and shit.
Yeah, I'm also quite skeptical on that point. We're going to get bigger eyes because it's dark, so we've moved to space, but we apparently decided to do it with internal lighting.
It uses a lot of energy.
It seems an odd thing to perpetually whittle down. I would think if we've gotten smarter, we could probably meet those power requirements fairly easily. Lights don't burn up that much power.
I'm not sure how we lost our fingers inherently, but maybe. Well, what else do we got for the night? We're coming close to the end. It's been an odd but a fun show as usual. Internal lighting not as bright as the sun. That's very true. The sun is different. But then again, if you lived in space, you would be exposed to the sun, though you wouldn't be able to collect as much of it. Though you would also be collecting more of it in a radiation way, so to speak, unless you lived.
Well, at some point you probably have to install lighting that mimics sunlight to some degree until at least one's human body evolved to need no further need for D-vitamin. I think it would, if we're smarter and have that bigger brain, we'll probably want to keep the environments comfortable.
Yes,
which means that we're probably not going to ratchet down the lighting to live like mole people.
I think Babylon 5 was the one with the Cyclones, and there was the Cyclones and the humans, and the Cyclones were the robots.
No.
I think
that's Battlestar Galactica.
Was that Battlestar Galactica? Which one was the one? It was like 4 or 5 seasons at the beginning. Whole show goes really well, and then at the end, when the show ended, they're back at Earth, which is long since destroyed because they destroyed it when they left. Okay, I'm thinking Battlestar
Moonbase 1995.
See, I like sci-fi. I've seen a lot of stuff, guys. A lot.
That sounds like Moonbase. Oh no, it is Battlestar Galactica. Okay, I had no idea they left.
You know what this means? This means I need to rewatch Babylon 5 because I have no fucking idea what it is right now.
Yes, I haven't. Lost was insufferably bad. Just legendarily terrible, but not the worst show I've seen in recent history. That goes to The Magicians, and I could rant for a good 30 minutes over that miserable sack of crap. Anyhow, Babylon 5 would be well worth watching. I thought it was an excellent show. I remember being quite fond of it in my youth.
I know it was some of them.
It was basically the noble predecessor to Deep Space Nine. It wasn't about space battles. Well, there were some, but not exactly the point. It was all about diplomatic communications between species and fighting an evil conspiracy of ancient aliens that were using Nazi psychics. I'm a bit fuzzy on the details myself, but it was very diverse, in its alien species, which I quite appreciate.
Well, it has been fun. It has also been an hour, and Data is right. It is time to end it. Oh, and there's the final shot. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. I really appreciate it, especially since this is a new time slot, and I'm just trying to fit in. I would appreciate you slapping any and all buttons you feel like slapping on your way out the door. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Any final words, Arketer?
Ostensibly, progress continues, for better or worse.
Progress must continue. That means I need to refresh the board for Friday. And I will see you all then. Bye.
Good evening, all one. All right, time, Jay.